What is African traditional religions? The god of ATR created the world but now allows nature gods, ancestral spirits, and tribal intercessors to be his surrogates with whom man deals instead of dealing with God directly. These spirits are both good and evil in nature. Spirits are everywhere in persons, trees, rivers, animals, rocks, mountains, and even in automobiles and other personal effects. Nature spirits are not only in rivers, rocks, and trees, but also in natural forces such as wind and lightning. Dr. Dan Hill, an expert on ATR, after being a missionary in Liberia for 5 years with SIM, gives us an overview of African traditional religions.
ATR is the traditional or tribal religion that you find in almost all of Africa to some extent or another. And it's interesting that even though Africa is becoming more urbanized, there's still a lot of the characteristics of African tribal religion that are brought with people into the city and even into the universities and into the higher educated people. And a tribal religion is basically built around the worldview that spirits are at the center of the world.
African traditional religions account for about 20 to 30% of the total population of Africa. This figure was much higher at the beginning of the 20th century, but the resurgence of Christianity started the ATR decline.
As I go around Africa, people think, oh, you know about tribal religion in West Africa, but you don't know about it here in Central Africa, or you don't know about it in East Africa. No, yeah, it goes by different names. It will have different customs, but it's all pretty much the same. Because one thing I found out about Satan, he's not real creative. He doesn't come up with a lot of new stuff. I mean, if he finds something's working in an area, he's just going to duplicate it someplace else. And he has really been able to do that with Africa tribal religion. But I do think it's less than it was 100 years ago or even a few decades ago.
Three major religions share Africa: Christianity, Islam, and African traditional religions. Dan tells us there's a lot of superstition in this pagan religion.
ATR is basically built around the worldview that spirits are at the center of the world. And so things that happen are not under their control. The spirits manipulating them and others and circumstances.
Dan says ATR is declining and disappearing before the advance of modern education and the influence of the church.
In certain pockets of Africa, it is dying off. In Nigeria, they have been able to really make a distinction between those who are Christians and those who are in ATR. A lot of it goes back to what some of the missionaries did and having young people, when they join the church, vow to never be a part of a secret society.
Now that you know a little about African traditional religions, it may surprise you to find out some American churches actually mimic ATR in 4 different ways.
First of all, one is tribalism. How many millennial Christians think in terms of the church being a tribe? I understand there's even a couple books out that talk about finding your tribe, whereas in our day we would have said finding your church.
Right.
What does tribalism do? It turns you inward, it isolates you from other people, you think that you're better than other people, and we see that in churches. The other area is, of course, animism, and I see that in a couple parts. One is, of course, the name it and claim it phenomena, that if I chant something, if I pray something in a certain way, God will have to do it. But that's just like a tribal chant, jumping around a pagan fire and chanting something and thinking that the gods are going to do this for you.
Animism is the belief that certain objects can possess spiritual power.
Animism is a broad subject that has many ways that it's influencing the church. The idea of tokens, good luck charms. A lot of Christian ladies will wear a cross, and they wear it because it's a nice piece of jewelry, but some will wear it thinking that they're warding off evil spirits. I was actually in a home one time, and the people had a beautiful old Bible. She said, I turn it every day to a different page in the Psalms, and it keeps demons from coming into my house. I thought she was joking. She was dead serious. And then also with animism, you have the idea of praying to dead spirits. We have a whole large denomination of people that pray to dead saints.
Ever had a Christian talk about their karma?
Then there's also fatalism. We would not say as Christians we believe in karma, but a lot of Christians do. They think, oh, what goes around comes around, and they don't realize that the statement found in Galatians chapter 6, that what we reap, what we sow, is followed by a statement that says, but we sow to the Spirit and we reap eternal life. Now, in human activity, if you don't do a good job, you're going to get fired. If you don't study for the test, you're going to get an F and not an A. But then you come to grace, and grace says, no, it's not what you've earned or deserved. God says it's based upon what I'm doing, not what you're doing.
Dan says even rock star Bono gets it right.
He says, if it was karma, I'd be in deep trouble. And he said, but then along comes Jesus Christ, and he takes our sins and dies on the cross. And he said, I'm hanging my life not on karma, but on grace.
And there's a final area where ATR has infiltrated the Western Church.
One of the biggest areas, the fourth area, which is syncretism. We see that creeping into the church a lot. We have Chrislam, the merging together of Christianity and Islam. I also talked with a woman once. She said, well, I go to the Methodist Church. Oh, I said, who's your pastor? She said, oh, I don't know. I only go there for yoga. But as far as she was concerned, she went to church. But as I said, I see how these things are affecting the American church around those four issues of tribalism, animism, fatalism, and syncretism. And I think that's a real problem.
The daily lives of ATR believers are controlled by fear of the spirit world rather than by the truth of Christ's victory over such spirits. Patrick Foss reporting on the Salem Radio Network.